Ben, what were your observations and thoughts on what you saw from Allar in his first game?
I thought he played well. I think everybody inside of that building was impressed. I think fans in general have to be impressed. I understand it's week one of preseason and you're not necessarily getting the most exotic defenses and looks and playing against guys who are going to be trotting out there every Sunday. But that was Drew. That was his first game action since halfway through the college football season last year. And I don't care what level you played at or how much you started in college. A preseason NFL game is going to be a little different than what these guys are used to. I experienced it firsthand a couple years ago. I threw a couple interceptions in my first preseason game. It was against the Steelers in the Hall of Fame game. So I've been there, done that. So for me to see both those guys really go out there, protect the ball, play well, it looked like their eyes and their feet were tied together. And for young quarterbacks, I think for Mike McCarthy, that's really all you can ask for with preseason week one.
Ben, when people talk about this, though, they highlight how, and you just did, the coverages are not anything crazy and exotic. I mean, ultimately, you've played in many preseason games. How much easier overall does that make it for the quarterback that the picture he sees pre-snap is almost always the picture he sees post-snap?
I think it makes it easier, but at the end of the day, you still got to go out there and execute. The ball's got to go to the right guy. It's got to be accurate. These guys weren't missing guys. They weren't spraying balls on guys' body. For the most part, they were accurate. They stepped up in the pocket, which is good to see young guys do. My common thing was I tended to drift a little bit in the pocket, and then you get the left tackle and the right tackle coming up to you saying, dude, you got to – when you get to 10 or 12 yards back there, we got to start stepping up and not retreating. So I thought those guys played well. It's going to be interesting to see how they progress week 2 to week 3 and kind of if Mike lets these guys play a little bit more and who he lets them play with, right? I think it'd be interesting if you let one of these young guys go out with the first or second unit and see what they can do.
Well, give us the perspective that you had as one of Mike McCarthy's quarterbacks on his roster. What do you think are the things he specifically is evaluating most closely off of that game tape? Like, what's the we're all talking about, oh, Drew Allar hit Caden Weegan. Wow, that was awesome. 74 yards. What's McCarthy digging in on from each of those two quarterbacks that he saw?
Well, we just heard him talk about the pre-snap penalties and stuff that the offense can control. Anytime the offense has, false start, delay of game, illegal formation, whatever it is, most of the time that's the quarterback just making sure all 11 guys are on the same page when they're leaving the huddle. And I think for young guys, just showing a command in the huddle, having all guys break at the same time, it sounds cliche, but listen to when all guys are clapping as you're breaking the huddle. If all guys are clapping at the same time, it normally means the quarterback is being demonstrative in the huddle. All guys are hearing and we're communicating the same way. But I think, and then the other thing is just turnovers. There's a lot of sloppy ball in the preseason. You've got receivers who might not be running with quarterbacks for the first time, right? During training camp, it's really just 1s and 2s mostly. So a lot of these guys are going out there and repping stuff for the first time on field Friday and Saturday and Sunday during these preseason games and in live action for the first time. So making sure guys are lined up and taking care of the ball, I think is huge for young quarterbacks. That's at least what Mike harped. When I was in Dallas for a couple of years, that's what he always used to say, right? Guys are going to mess up. Guys are going to not do what they're supposed to do. Don't make a bad play worse. The quarterback can kind of be the point guard and the ultimate overrider out there.
Ben, are you impressed that in rookie minicamp we heard reporters saying that Drew Allar had to have all the Penn State stuff uninstalled? And he's going back to like the bare bones of quarterbacking. And Ben Roethlisberger's on his podcast saying, I'm watching the clips. What is this? This is stuff that like I'm teaching my son at 8 years old. And McCarthy raved about this is my quarterback school. This is what I do. And to build Allar back up where in his first game he can throw 3 touchdowns and look poised and confident out there. Are you impressed by that quick development curve with Allar?
I am. Yeah, I certainly don't love when your head coach, the first thing he's saying about you when he gets you in the building is, hey, we're basically unloading everything that he's learned about the quarterback position, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it our way and how I want it. But if there's a guy that can make it work and has a proven track record of making quarterbacks work in this league, it's Mike McCarthy, right? And I think you saw that firsthand last week when they played. Drew, Will, Mason, all those guys played good, looked formidable. So that's why I think a lot of people are starting to raise the question about, man, what are the Steelers going to do with this quarterback room? How does it work? Can they keep 4 guys?
What do you think of that?
Who's going to be the odd man out? I don't think you can keep 4 guys. When I was in Dallas, I was the 3rd guy, and I was kept on the active roster my rookie year. My second year, Mike kept 3 active roster and 1 on the practice squad, so we had 4. But in terms of keeping 4 on the active roster, I just don't know how it makes sense. If you're Aaron Rodgers, you'd love an extra receiver or a tight end or a running back. So it's going to be, I think both of these guys really helped their case last week in terms of, the reps that they're going to get moving forward and what that's going to do inside that building. Because if 1 or 2 of these guys can show that we can be on the same page, mentally as Mason is, I don't see why you don't, let Will or Drew run as the backup. Because if you let either of those guys go to practice squad, I'll tell you right now, they're gonna get claimed immediately. And then the decision is, man, what do we just, what if? Do we wish we had one of these guys back? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's a long way to go, but I don't think you can keep 4 on active roster now.
Ben, Drew Allar, I think, was just because the numbers were a little more eye-popping. The physical stuff jumped out a little bit more. It's the guy Steelers fans, I think, seem more excited about. What do you want to see in his second go-around in the preseason? You mentioned playing with different players, going out with different personnel. But beyond that, just what is the next progression for him to take that next step and get more faith from Mike McCarthy and his abilities?
I would say just continue to have a plan when you break the huddle, and how fast can I process stuff pre-snap, right? The best advice I got my rookie year when I got to the NFL was from Dak Prescott, and he said the best QBs in this league have a plan and have a process and already know what's going on before the ball's even snapped. So for Drew, I think that's the biggest thing, right? You're a rookie. You're behind the 8 ball in terms of reps, in terms of time on task in the NFL. The quicker you can get up to speed mentally and show these guys that, hey, what I put on tape is what you're going to get, and that's just what you have to base it off of and look at. I think the better his situation is going to be. He's got all the physical tools, right? You hear all the people talking about 6'5", 245 or whatever he is. The ball was jumping out of his hand the other night. So I'd like to see continue to process, and then when we can do that, the natural ability stuff can kind of jump off the tape like it did the other night.
McCarthy told McAfee on Friday after the game that, hey, I've got a very friendly quarterback system. I've got a system that I've built. It makes sense. I believe in my system enough that these 2 young guys would go in and play well. And I said to Chris, as far as like the quarterback decision and how it gets made, if Mike's that confident in his system and likes these guys as developmental guys, then I think he would be more inclined to let Mason go. Because Tomlin might have kept Mason because he's a veteran backup. He's won before. But if McCarthy's that confident in his system winning, then I think that makes Rudolph more disposable. Do you agree with that, Ben?
I agree. Yes, I agree 1,000%. And if I had to guess, I mean, Will Howard is probably going to get the first shot to be QB2 at this thing. He was in that building for a year, knows kind of how the NFL works. Normally, it takes a lot for a rookie. I don't care if you're a first rounder or a 7th rounder like I was, to come into training camp and all of a sudden just start flying up the depth chart, right? You've got 2 or 3 guys that you've got to pass. So I think there's a progression in terms of what that looks like. But my goodness, if every game looks like that for Drew Allar, I mean, how the heck at the end of preseason are you not sitting there as a staff and saying, all we've got to grade this kid off of is what he's put on tape the last 3 preseason games, and it's pretty darn good. So if he can continue to do that, there's nothing that's going to prepare these guys for the regular season. Now, obviously, the preseason is much different, but the preseason is much different than the practice reps that these guys are getting. It's the first chance that Mike and this staff has had to see all of these quarterbacks, including Aaron, hands-on in live action.